First of two qualifying sessions for the GT4 European Series. First race is at 6 o'clock this evening, 6 till 7. Second one just before lunchtime tomorrow. Track conditions still tricky. It's the end of September at Zandvoort. And for a lot of the drivers here, there's a treat in store. They got to see it for the first time yesterday, and it's the bank corner at the end of the lap. There's the new bank corner, of course, at the Hugenholzbach, which they'll get to just now. Here they are, just in behind the paddock. But it's a cool day, 15 degrees air temperature, track temperature gradually edging up to 13 and a bit degrees. But the corner that really focuses their attention is the last one of the lap, the Arie Luijendijk bocht onto the start-finish straight. Wonderfully new banked corner, a real challenge. The drivers so far absolutely love it. But in fact, the sun is now at the brightest it's been all day here at Zandvoort. The track is still dry, but look, off the racing line. Cars dry the racing line, but go beyond, and particularly if you go up on the curves, it's still a bit greasy. So the outlap, very much a sighting lap for all of these drivers. Just to run you through the championship so far this year, RN Vision STS with their BMW M4s bagged both of the wins in the two races at Imola. Next time around went down to Misano. Victory in the first race, NM Racing and their Mercedes AMG, Luc Ibanez and Javier Lloveras. And then the second race, AGS Events, the Aston Martin, Valentin Asclot and Thio Nue. And then last time out, travelled to Magny-Cours, another winner. It was back in the hands of Luc Ibanez in his Mercedes with Javier Lloveras. And the sixth race, a different winner, Bastian Boos and Jan Kasperlik, Allied Racing, Porsche Cayman, and Bastian was top of the time charts in free practice yesterday. The car that's really starting to make its presence felt is the Toyota Supra. Not yet got a win, but 2 second places for Gal Castelli and Stéphane Lemerey. So really watch out for them. And the sister car from CMR, Antoine Potti and Timothée Bouret. So look out for car 8 and 66. There is that wonderful bank corner onto the start finish straight now in full sunshine. Oh yes, that's great news indeed. But drivers still have to be cautious, and I think anybody who presses too hard too soon may just have a red face. Bear in mind, this 20-minute qualifying session is followed. That will define the grid for the first of our two races for this evening's race. But the second GT4 European qualifying session starts only 10 minutes after this one ends, and that will define the grid for tomorrow lunchtime's race. So drivers have to have that element of caution. Antoine Poiti, car 66. Rave reviews about this young French racer. He seems to have got in and got on since he stepped up to GT4. Was in karting just a handful of years ago, then raced Formula 4 in Southeast Asian Series alongside that. But this is his first full season in car racing, and he's been very impressive so far. And just for your reference, Antoine is 17 years old, turned 17 back in April, so very much one of the young guns. But this to me has been one of the big changes in literally the past 5 years. So many drivers have immense promise, but they just look at the single-seater ladder, think they cannot do it, and some going directly to take a route towards GT racing if they possibly can. In the Benelux Porsche Carrera Cup, we just saw a 15-year-old and a 17-year-old fighting it out at the top of the time chart. So in days gone by, that's the age at which drivers used to step into single-seaters. But again, constantly changing plateau. The tableau, I should say, really, of the racing scene, and it's very much the benefit of GT racing to have these young guns coming in as well. Looking for those first flying laps to go on the board, and it's Cem Bolukbazi, top for the Borusan Automotive team, one of the two BMW M4s. Giuseppe Jezzi, Autolando Sport Porsche, Cayman in second place. 0.1 of a second between them, then 0.2 of a second back into Bob Herber. So in fact, we've got two AM runners, Giuseppe Jezzi and Bob Herber, second and third overall. Top silver at the moment is the driver we've been looking at, Antoine Potti, 004 on the windscreen, 66 on the door. And the CMR that had a very good morning, it must be said, running their Bentley Continentals in the GT World Challenge Europe. And something completely different on the support program, these two Toyota Supras. Looking for the top guns in the championship, see where they're going to be. Car 22 picking up the pace all along, Jan Kasperlik, and we saw In fact, he's now backed it right off completely. I don't know if he made a mistake, but certainly one of the two M4s. It's the one that's fastest at the moment. Cem Bolukbazi, Turkish racer for the Turkish team. Borusan Automotive flashing his way past. He's confident at the moment on this circuit. He's only to the good by 0.1 of a second precisely, but this lap clearly is quicker. He's fastest of anybody in Sector 1. Sector 2, out of the Hans Ernst box. He may just be able to get on to the tail of the Toyota Supra, get a bit of a tow if he can get it marginally closer. No, he has to be closer than that. Through the sweeper, the final corner. In fact, it's not interrupting him, and the Turkish racer, lovely exit line, and then down the drop onto the start-finish straight. Now down terra firma, the same level as the start line, improves his advantage to 0.244 of a second. But this time around, it's Stéphane Lemeray who steps into second place. So it was just over half a second gained between his first flying lap and his second for Bolukbazi, but Stéphane Lemeray in the other Toyota Supra into second place, 0.244 of a second down. Bob Herber, now the top AM runner. He's gone better than Giuseppe Jesi to go into what was third is fourth place, because Javier Loveras has gone to the top of the charts. The NM Racing number 15 Mercedes, 2 wins in the bags from 6 starts. If you want a car that's popular on home ground, a team that's popular on home ground, makes the noise the Dutch like, it's V8 racing. That's the stipulation. Whatever the race needs a V8 in it. I quite approve of that, actually. And at the moment, that is rumbling around. Jo Rapanga down in 15th place. His first flying lap was just a toe in the water. The second flying lap could remove the 5 from that and put him up into first. Let's take a look over the start finish line into second place. Just 0.137 of a second down on his own teammate. Duncan Huisman had already gone over the line while I was blinking. William Meyer. So in fact, it's Dutch drivers first, second and third. Chevrolet. And then the Celislaw Racing Team Mercedes of Willem Meyer. Willem Meyer, Dutch Supercar Challenge champion back 2 years ago, but now he's stepped into GT4, different machinery, and really settling in very, very well indeed. Third fastest, he's a second, almost precisely down on Duncan Huisman's best lap. Nice to see the sun glinting off the bodywork of these cars. It was yesterday afternoon, first time I sighted this meeting, and the rain was coming in horizontally. Not a nice place to be standing out around the circuit. But today, really rather charming indeed. Air temperature about 14 degrees, track temperature about the same. Track temperature first thing this morning was a whisker over freezing. So changes, Allied Racing starting to come good. They're catching up with the V8 Racing Camaros. Car 99 running in usually in the metallic blue livery, but easier to spot from the teammate, the sister car of Jo Rapanga, which is running metallic blue, the all black entry of the driver who's fastest of all, and he's looking to go faster still, Duncan Huisman. Blinding first sector of the lap. Rumbling Camaro onto the start-finish straight. His target time, his own time, 1 minute 43.267 seconds, and he shaves a tenth and a little bit more off that, 1 minute 43.10 seconds. He's now 0.3 of a second up on Jo Rapanga, and Jo just set a very, very good final sector time. Jan Kasperlik third for Allied Racing in his Porsche. And then suddenly a really good lap from Ivan Jacoba makes it Porsches in third and fourth positions, because the Century Porsche Chino entry goes up to fourth. When I say fourth, I mean fifth, because Theo Nue has finally got the Aston Martin from AGS Events starting to fly. That is just 7 thousandths of a second down on the metallic blue Camaro we're looking at now of Jo Rapanga. Good in the first part of the lap, rumbling beautifully in the second part. Jo Rapanga, but that was Theo Nue. His advantage in the Aston Martin was the final sector, so clearly got a really, really good run through out of the Hans Ernst box, which is such a tricky, even though it's less tight than it used to be. They've opened it out a little bit, that right-left sequence of corners, then running it through Kumo, then on, importantly, to get a good flow through the Arie Luijendijk box. That's what everyone wants, to get that momentum onto the start-finish straight. But look what Jo Rapanga gained in the first sector of the lap. He's lost and more in the second sector. So he's going to stay in second place overall. And what he doesn't want is lots of traffic. What has he got? Loads of traffic. It hasn't actually interrupted him just yet. The second BMW just keeping out of the way there. Sister car Duncan Huisman dropped low. I don't think he interrupted Jo, but I think it's going to be very hard for Jo to take the top spot. Let's see, 1 minute 33.107 seconds. He's close, 1 minute 53.589. So close to his own best, but still not close enough to his teammates. So I think he needs to sort some space without traffic in it. Car 76, one of the two Orlando Sport cars this weekend. Giuseppe Jezzi had a really, really good run at the start of the session. He's sharing this weekend with Jacopo Barato, so change of teammates. And likewise, the sister car has got British racer JM Littman sharing with Dario Cerati. And JM has a race history incredibly diverse. He will race anything, anywhere in the world. And that's from a driver who, in his early career, spent most of his time following Huskies as a dog sledding champion, so couldn't have a more different environment. First thing this morning, it must have felt about the same temperature as Husky racing days. Looking for movements in the pack. We're beyond the halfway point. This is the first of two qualifying sessions. Then, of course, the drivers will flip over and their teammates will be given a go. And they will define the grid for the second of the races. But this one, as it stands, it's looking very good for V8 racing. First and second provisionally for the grid for this afternoon's race that will start at 6 o'clock local time. But they're only ahead of Tio Nue's Aston Martin by, or Yo Rapanga in second fastest is only 7,000ths of a second clear of that AGS event. Number 27, Aston Martin, French racer Tio Nue, very promising indeed. Jörg Wiebahn, well, that middle sector no good at all for him, not likely to improve from 11th overall. He's very close indeed to Antoine Potti, who was up near the top to start with in his CMR Toyota Supra, but now back in 10th, and indeed Wiebahn did not improve. In the world of Pro-Am, you can see them marked out with a red background behind them. Tio Nue, sorry, that he's in the pits at the moment. No, Tio Nue is on the track. He just served a pit stop, just coming back out again. Jan Kasperlik still in the pits, and he's about to rejoin. So, a number of drivers making adjustments. We've seen them coming into the pits, because it was a little bit of a guess. How dry was the track? It looked very dry most of the way around, but still damp patches. How much that affects the setup of the cars? Kim Bogarts not going as well as he'd have been wanting on home ground for the RN Vision STS BMW crew. His best finish this year is 6th place, along with his teammate Mark van der Aar, but at the moment he's not at the sharp end of the field. He's down in 15th overall out of the 18 runners. And just looking to see Gabriele Piana and Baz Schuten. They share the sister car from RN Vision STS, and it's Baz out on the track in number 111, and he's only 13th place, so he's only 2 places further up. Top BMW in the field, in fact, he's only in 9th. Cem Bullock-Bazi set that time very early on for Boristan Automotive Motorsport, was fastest of all, but clearly the BMWs have not managed to pick up the pace, whereas the Chevrolets have their first and second, Aston Martin in third, 2 Porsches 4th and 5th, then a Mercedes in 6th. The car that's second fastest diving into the pit lane. Jörg Rapanga, 0.293 of a second down on the sister car of Duncan Housman. Duncan we saw taking a slow lap, but I think he's starting to pick up the pace. Car number 30, Willem Meyer, Celeslar Racing Team. Lapping consistently, only needs to find a small margin to get equal or go ahead of even Giacomo. Essentially Porsa Ticino Cayman. But that first sector not looking good at all for Willem Meyer. But for a lot of these drivers, it's their first racing experience of the revised, remodelled Zandvoort circuit. So there's a lot to be said. If you're there or thereabouts, stay out on the circuit and just get track time in. And in fact, similar time of day tomorrow is where when the second of these 2 races will be. So track temperature may be similar. But this evening's race will be later in the day. This evening's race starts 6 o'clock local time, where at the end of September, temperature would have started to fall. $20 minutes in. 20-minute session, we've got 15 minutes in, and it really is a case of getting those laps in. It's still Duncan Houseman. He did a slow lap. He's now starting to pick up the pace in the V8 Racing, the black V8 Racing Chevrolet. He's just put the fastest first sector in of anybody. There he comes, 0-1 on the screen, 99 on the door. Looking very even with his best lap so far, but it's what he can do in the third and final sector. Out of the Hans-Ernst-Bocht he goes. Kumo Bocht, how many thousand times has Duncan Houseman been through this corner on his home circuit? Hasn't been through this one many times, not with the banking. This is the Harry Loendijk-Bocht. For years it's been a flat corner, now it's been given this twist, this angling. And has he cut the car well enough to improve on 1 minute 43.10? No, he's just a whisker down on that. But the good news for Duncan Houseman, he's got clear track ahead of him. Not always a given. At Zandvoort it can really, really hurt you. But again, tidy behind the pits, the twisters at Gerlach-Bocht, then down the little drop into the remodelled banked corner now at the Hugenholz-Bocht. Always such a tricky stretch of track. One of the cars that could be challenging, down in 8th place at the moment, Stéphane Nemeray, 8th place in car number 8, one of the 2 Toyota Supras. Past those big barrels on the inside of the corner at the re-profiled Hans-Ernst-Bocht. It's not quite as sharp a sequence of corners as it was before. Still it's a right followed by a long, long left, but they don't want people cutting the corner up the inside, because that will inevitably attract someone to make a move that they regret, or the cars around them do, so it stops cars spearing into others in the second part of the corner. What sort of lap time? 1 minute 44.298 is the best so far for Stéphane Nemeray, and he improves on that. Goes up into 5th place overall. Good first sector, good third sector. He's got to find less than 1/10 of a second, and he might be able to pick off 4th, which is Jan Kasperlik, top Pro-Am runner at the moment in the Allied Racing Porsche Cayman, one of 2 Allied Racing Porsche Caymans, of course. Fabulous stretch of circuit, one of my favourite stretches anywhere in the world, after Hugenholz-Bocht, then up over the twister, the bucking ride through the Rob Slaughtermacher-Bocht, and then the dive down to the right into the compression at Schevlach. Fabulous. And Joop Rapanga now had that little pit stop, back out onto the circuit, still in second place, just 0.3 of a second down on provisional pole. He's got to pick up the pace after that visit to the pits. Still got time on the board, time to complete this lap and get on one more flyer. Will it be enough to topple his teammate Duncan Houseman? Sounds great, that V8 Racing Camaro. Over the start finish line, as you can see, 1.5 minutes remaining on the clock. A good lap around here. Fastest lap is 1 minute 43.1, so he can complete this lap. That will be it. The checkered flag will greet him. Will it greet him as provisional pole starter? Because Duncan Houseman has parked the sister car in the pit lane. He's got his time on the board, 1 minute 43.107 seconds. That's the time that's sitting there to be beaten. A minute to the checkered flag, so it's the last shot for Jo Rapanga. Jo sharing this weekend, as he has through the course of this season, with Team Nabur, double Dutch team. And who else is going to make a move late in the session? Cem Bolukbazi, look at him at the moment, 9th. He was fastest in the very after the first flying laps went on the board. Those times have been chipped away at. He's made a visit to the pit lane, he's made a pit stop, had a little inspection, considered what he needs to do, and he's that middle sector looks a little bit worrying in terms of improvement, but he's got to find just 2/10. He finds 0.2 of a second, he'll move up to 6th place overall. He's 9th at the moment, the Turkish racer in the Turkish team. So his final sweep through the Arie Luijendijk-Bocht, through the bank corners. In fact, he's going to get one more, because he'll get over the start-finish line in time for one further sweeper. So in fact, maybe his best lap is going to be coming next time around. He was close to his best, but not close enough to move up. Two Orlando Sport Porsches sitting in the pit lane, so that's Dario Cerati and Giuseppe Jesi. Their session is run. They'll hand over respectively to JM Littman and Jacopo Barato. For a lot of these teams, I think they've decided we've done roughly what we could do in the first session. No point taking a risk on one final flyer. We'll so the grid are very much set. Just trying to see if anybody in the top 10 is picking up the pace around this final lap. Not that I can see, and the body language of Cem Bolokbazi is that oh, well, that's why he's backed off further around the lap. He was giving it some at Gerlachbocht and only just about got into Hugenholzbocht. So right there I was just saying, talking about drivers taking a risk, but Cem Bolokbazi decided it was worth a go, but that would have really hampered the second session for his teammates. So thank goodness he just missed the tyre wall there on the exit of Gerlachbocht. So very much advantage those two cars, the V8 Racing Camaro. Duncan Houseman was fastest of all. He'll be handing over to Jorge Cabezas Catalan, but first and second for 99 and 17. And between them just under 0.3 of a second, 0.293 of a second, then just 7 thousandths back to the Aston Martin of Tio Nue in third place overall. Top Pro-Am runner was Jan Kasperlik in fourth in class in his Allied Racing Porsche Cayman. He was kept very honest, only a tiny margin, in fact about a quarter of a second back to the second Pro-Am runner, which was another Porsche, Ivan Jacoma. But driver changes all round, information passed over from one to other. Cars are still coming in, so those that decided to complete their final flying lap and were sort of late in that have certainly far less time in the pits. There's a 10-minute gap between these two sessions. But let's take a look at the end of that first qualifying session for the GT4 European Series. It was Duncan Houseman ahead of teammate Jura Panger, just 0.293 of a second between them, and then a whisker back to the Aston Martin from AGS Events of Tio Nue. Jan Kasperlik, the best of the Pro-Am runners, in fourth overall. Silver Cup runner as well in fifth, the Stefan Lemeret Toyota, late charge from the Belgian. Then Ivan Jacoma, Swiss racer, a Swiss team in his Porsche, sixth. Willem Meyer, very impressive as he steps up to GT4 racing, seventh in his Salazar Racing Mercedes. Tricky conditions early on, but well interpreted by all the runners out there, kept it on the black stuff by and large, and their teammates will get their go in the next few minutes. But a nice tidy session, and those V8 Racing Camaros not only sounded great, looked great, but they were fastest on the stopwatch. So for the local team on the local circuit, that is very good news indeed. And now they have to do it all over again, with Duncan Houseman handing over to Jorge Cabezas Catalan and his teammate in the sister car, Jura Panger, handing over to his fellow Dutch racer, Tiemen Naboer. Can they do the same again? And the good thing is, with every few minutes, temperature just eking its way up on this autumnal day at Zandvoort circuit. The wind is blowing the track that little bit drier after a flurry of rain overnight and slightly earlier this morning. But down in the pit lane, look, one of the Pirelli engineers is wearing a short sleeve shirt, so he's either packed for July or he's just very happy in the temperature down there. But certainly it is autumn here at Zandvoort, so the drivers have to really pay attention to getting heat into that Pirelli P0 rubber on their wheels. And just to reiterate, it's a 10-minute gap between qualifying session number one. That is now completed. And this second qualifying session, well, even better still, I've just been told because of earlier delays, it's been abbreviated to a 5-minute lap. That probably explains why that probably explains why the cars, some of them didn't do the final flying lap. They came into this abbreviated time in between them after earlier stoppages. Well, sensible thing to do on a very packed race program. I mean, fantastically packed here at Zandvoort. Brilliant race meeting. So we're about to go out this, and in fact, because things have moved on so much after earlier delays in several of the sessions, we're probably only going to give you the first handful of minutes of this session before we have to cut away and start the rundown on TV for the second of our GT World Challenge racers powered by AWS. The first one was an absolute cracker. Can't wait for the second. Very different conditions. But right now, the focus has to remain on the GT4 European Series runners. They've got to get out. They've heard from their teammates what the conditions are out on the track. Are we going to have the V8 Racing Chevrolets at the top at the end of the session? We will see. Will AGS Events with the Aston Martin, the one you can see closest to pit exit, be able to go to the top of the charts and stay there? Well, that's the opportunity being provided for Valentin Haas-Clos, and they've had a great season, and the car's already going out onto the circuit. The rest will be following very soon indeed. Almost a traffic jam in the pits as the cars leave the Salazar Racing pit. Flurry of activity down there, but one of the Aston Martins already out on to the circuit. I didn't see if that was Gilles Vannelet moving out or if it was the sister car for Valentin Hasclot. But anyone goes out now, they will have a nice clear track, a nice drying track. There, that wonderfully banked corner now at the Hugenholzbocht. Aston Martins sound great, lovely gentle rumble, not quite as harsh as the V8 Racing rumble and the Camaros. The car 27, Valentin Hasclot, well, he's decided to just get out there and get on with it. Very, very competent driver indeed. And AGS Events enjoying a good season with the Aston Martins, and Valentin and his teammate Thierry Nue, second in the opening race, sixth retirement, then the all-important win, the second of the two races at Misano. Another retirement, unfortunately, which hurts their championship challenge in the first of two races at Nürburgring, but then second place as well. So gathering points when they finish races. For Valentin, running, rumbling around the circuit. Again, all these drivers just needing the outlap to just check out the circuit conditions. They've been tricky this morning, but they're getting better all the time. For Bob Herber, he does all the racing. He doesn't have a teammate, so he did the first qualifying session. He should be able to get up to speed very quickly in the second session. He knows what the track conditions are like out there. He knows they would also be improving. He drives solo, one of only two drivers in the series at this meeting to do so. The other was Ibrahim Okyay, number 13, Borusan Automotive BMW, Turkish racer, running in the AM class. It is quite an advantage, particularly on a day of changing conditions, if you've done the first session, to go out in the second as well. But then come the race, you've got to do the full hour on your own. So just waiting for the first flying lap, and it may just be competed, but before, unfortunately, we have to cut away from the live coverage of this to start the rundown towards the second of the GT World Challenge Europe races, powered by AWS here at Zandvoort. Just waiting for the first flying lap to be completed, but we'll bring you the grid later on for the GT4 European Series. Zandvoort's looking great on the September day. A lot more racing to follow.